Hello students, in the due course of discussion about the solid states chapter, we have reached up to the topic electrical properties of solids. So we'll discuss about the 10th topic of this chapter, electrical properties of solids. All solids are not necessarily good conductor of electricity. Some solids could be conductors which allows the electricity to pass through it. Some solids could be insulators which does not allow the electricity to pass through it, and some could be semiconductors which allows the electricity to pass through it at higher temperature. Before understanding these 3 points, we have to understand the meaning of conductance and resistance. So there is one term called as resistance which we have studied in our previous classes. If we take any conductor, a piece of conductor I have taken, it is a metallic conductor in the cylindrical form with a length L and a cross-sectional area A. Longer the length will be, more will be the resistance experienced by the electricity or the electrons to pass through it, when any potential difference will be applied across it. If we apply any potential difference, then in the path of the current there will be certain resistance, obstruction. This obstruction or resistance or a resistive force experienced by the charged particles in the path of the conductor or in the path of the electricity in the conductor is directly proportional to the length of the conductor and is inversely proportional to the cross-sectional area. That means the width of the conductor. We can equate it by writing R is equal to rho L by A, where R is resistance and rho is specific resistance. Specific resistance means R is equal to rho when L is equal to 1 meter and A, that means cross-sectional area, is equal to 1 meter square. That means L by A is equal to 1 per meter. Now, if we do the reciprocal of R, then 1 by R will be called as conductance. It is denoted by G, and 1 by rho will be termed as specific conductance, kappa, which is also called in short conductivity. If we see the unit of resistance, the unit of resistance is equal to ohm. So unit of resistivity would be equal to ohm is unit of resistance. So clearly resistivity is equal to R A by L. So it is equal to ohm meter, and 1 by rho, that is conductance, will be equal to per ohm per meter. So we have derived here that unit for resistance is equal to ohm. This we know. Resistivity is equal to resistance into A into L will be equal to ohm meter. So 1 by resistivity is equal to conductivity, and its unit will become equal to per ohm per meter. Now conductors are the solids which has conductivity, that means specific conductance in the order of 10 to the power 7 per ohm per meter. Insulators are solids which has conductivity in the range 10 to the power minus 20 to 10 to the power minus 10 per ohm per meter. And semiconductors are the solids which has conductivity in the order ten to the power minus 6 per ohm per meter to 10 to the power 4 per ohm per meter. Now to understand why conductors have high conductivity, why insulators have very low conductivity, and why semiconductors have moderate value of conductivity which rises with rising temperature, we have to understand the concept of band theory. Of solids using band theory. The word band means group, cluster, bound together, like band of colors, band of music. Similarly, what happens in a conductor, there are many atoms. In a conductor, there are many atoms. Say if it is iron, which is a good conductor of electricity, it has got many atoms. So when it has many atoms, when it has got many 3d orbitals, if it has many 3d orbitals, then each of these 3 orbitals will have some partially filled d orbitals, and it will have certain 4s orbitals which will be vacant. So these atoms which are closely placed, their valence shell are also closely placed and they form a band of orbitals. Now this band of orbitals are of two types. One in which the valence electron stays, which is called as valence bond, and the band of orbitals which is empty, which is called as conduction band, where electrons can move freely. So this is lower energy state, a lower band of orbitals, lower energy state, lower band of orbitals. This is say energy level, and an empty band of orbitals. This is valence band. Please do not understand this as bond. This is band. Band means a group of orbitals, and this is conduction band. Valence band has filled up electrons, and conduction band has empty orbital, empty band of orbitals, where electrons can move freely with very less influence of nuclear charge attracting it towards it. So in case of conductors, the gap between the valence band and the conduction band is not there. So there is no gap. There is no gap. The conduction band and the valence band, they overlap each other. This is called as overlap zone. As a result of the overlapping, the electrons, when they are provided potential difference, then the electrons can move easily from valence band to empty band, valence band to empty band. The electrons can easily move from valence band to empty band, that is conduction band, and that is how these electrons can drift further and can cause electricity to pass through it. So this is the case of conductors. So this is case A. In case of case A, the overlap zone is such that there is no gap between the valence band and the conduction band. Conduction band is the band of empty orbitals where electrons can move freely, where valence band is in the influence of the nuclear charge because it is the outermost orbital where electrons are found. In case of semiconductors and insulators, the case is little different. We will take case number B. So case number A was of conductors. Case number B is of insulators. In case of insulators, the valence band and the conduction band, they are far away from each other. So this is filled valence band and this is empty conduction band. So this zone is called as forbidden zone. Irrespective of how much potential difference you apply, irrespective of how much external potential you apply, irrespective of how much temperature you apply, the electrons cannot move from filled valence band to empty conduction band because of large gap between these two bonds. These two bands. In case of semiconductors, the valence band and the conduction band are so close to each other that at lower temperature they behave like insulator. At lower temperature they do not conduct electricity so well. But when temperature is increased, with increase in temperature, the electrons can move from valence band to conduction band. That is why in case of semiconductors, the conductivity is higher at higher temperature. At higher temperature, they start to behave like conductors. Whereas in case of conductors at higher temperature, conductivity decreases because the internal kernels, they start vibrating. Due to that vibration, the electron feels more resistance to move from one end to another. Whereas in case of semiconductors, when temperature is increased, then electrons from the valence band, they can jump and can reach to conduction band. That means empty band or empty orbitals, which is away from the influence of nuclear charge. So this is the reason why conductors have high conductivity, semiconductors have moderate conductivity and its conductivity rises with increase in temperature, and insulators have very low conductivity and they do not conduct electricity at all. So this was all about electrical properties of the solid. In our next discussion, we will discuss about the magnetic properties of the solid. Thank you. So we had seen what are the electrical properties of solids. So the three electrical properties of solids were that they were conductors, or they were insulators, or they were semiconductors. Now we have to study a little bit more about semiconductors, its type and how it works. So to understand more about semiconductors, we will discuss about a topic, types of semiconductors. So there are two types of semiconductors, N-type semiconductors and P-type semiconductors. N-type semiconductors are also called as intrinsic semiconductors. And P-type semiconductors are called as extrinsic semiconductors. The charge carrier in N-type semiconductors are electrons. Here, electrons carry charge from one end to the other. And here, holes, that means positive charges. That means the vacant sites where electrons are not there, they carry charge. Now, to understand how N-type semiconductors are formed and P-type semiconductors are formed, we have to see the structure of a perfect crystal. Let us take the example of a tetravalent element, silicon. Silicon has 4 valence electrons in its valence orbital. In this way, silicon exists in solid state. So these dots are the 4 electrons in its valence shell. So this is a perfect crystal. Now, if we remove any tetravalent atom with a pentavalent atom, then one electron will become excess. So it will become N-type semiconductor because it will develop one extra electron for carrying the charge. Now, if we replace one tetravalent atom with one trivalent atom, then what will happen? One electron deficiency will be caused. One electron deficient site will be developed, and that electron deficient site will be called as hole. So let us take the example. So for taking the example, I will have to redraw this. So this is silicon. This dot is of I. One more. It is not that in the solids only these many atoms are there, there could be many, but we are just drawing a small portion of that for our understanding. So there are 4 electrons surrounding each silicon atom. There are 4 electrons surrounding each silicon atom. Now, as I said, in case of N-type semiconductor, a pentavalent atom is introduced. Say, if we introduce one impurity here in place of silicon, a pentavalent element, say arsenic, then it will have its usual number of 4 electrons as silicon was having, but 1 electron will be extra. This extra electron will make it an N-type semiconductor. Whereas if by doping, that means introducing impurity in the crystal, if we introduce one trivalent atom, say boron, then it will have only 3 electrons and there will be one position vacant. So this hole will cause conduction, this positive charge will drift, this electron may come here, then positive charge will go here, this electron may come here, positive charge will go ahead. So in this way electron will take its place and positive charge will be moving from one end to the other end. So this type of semiconductors are called as p-type semiconductors. Now as we know that in the exam generally the questions are classified as easy questions, average questions and difficult questions. So a very easy question can be asked like differentiate between N-type semiconductor and P-type semiconductor. So what we can do, we can write that in tabular form. N-type semiconductor one side we can write, P-type semiconductor one side we can write. We can write that they are called as intrinsic semiconductor and extrinsic semiconductor, and then who are the or what are the charge carriers in each of these semiconductors we can write, and then we can draw these two diagrams. So after drawing these two diagrams with the help of pencil properly, the explanation of types of semiconductors or distinguish between type of questions can be done in the exam. So in our next discussion, we will discuss about magnetic properties of the solids. Thank you.